Welcome to the Simple Sophisticate podcast, where intelligent living is paired with signature style. I'm your host, Shannon Ables, and whether you're listening on your commute, exercising, working in the garden, or sitting down with a hot cup of tea or a café au lait, thank you for tuning in. Let's get started. Welcome to the 142nd episode of the Simple Sophisticate. Today we're going to talk about style. One reason being it is Fashion Week in New York City right now, the beginning of Fashion Month for the Fall 2017 collections. And for another reason, we haven't done a style post in a long time. And I, having been in my home for so long and not being outside as often as I normally am, have been exploring my style. I'm always thinking about it. I'm always wanting to change it and update it and see if it truly reflects who I am. But I've had more time to really think about it this past month in January leading into February as the new fashions and styles are going to reveal themselves. And I must say, having listened to a handful of podcasts over these past couple months, they really spoke to something I wanted to share with you with this idea of what we buy and why we buy it and wear it. So our episode today is going to talk about 9 reasons owning your style will change your life. And I'm excited to get into it with you guys today. But before I do, this week's Petit Plaisir is a book from 2011, actually. It is for my Francophiles out there, but it's also for anyone who just wants to fall in love with life and do it in a way that may be subtle, but also brings the individual who's living it great pleasure. So I hope you'll stick with me to the end because I think you'll enjoy this book recommendation. But now let's get to today's topic. How can owning our style possibly change our life? Well, I was tuning into Refinery 29's podcast called Untitled. And a couple of women joined the podcast as guests, one being Stacey London, who you may remember from her show on TLC, What Not to Wear. And the interview covered a lot of different topics, but one of the things they talked about was the concept of style and psychology. And I think this is something that's worth talking about because we forget about the power of what we wear and how it affects our minds and how we approach the day, but also to remind ourselves that style is not a superficial thing. It is not something to scoff at. It is something to embrace, and we all can embrace it because it has so much power that it can bring into our lives. So I want to start off today's episode with a quote from that interview from Stacey London. She states, "Individuals can take hold of style and make it their own. Style is about an individual, and fashion is about an industry, and fashion runs on insecurity." That idea of what it preys upon. Fashion preying on our insecurities, style rather speaking to us as an individual. Right there should tell us exactly which of the two we want to gravitate towards. Now, it might be hard to separate the two as we watch all the collections walk down the runway these next couple of weeks, but I will address that too. And I think hopefully it will help you to appreciate and enjoy the collections and not be distracted by the underlying or maybe superficial goal of what fashion is. So let's get started. New York Fashion Week motors on as I tape today's episode. And for me, it is a holiday and a celebration of sorts. I cannot wait to get on the Runway app that Vogue has, and every lunch hour in the morning or in the evening when I'm relaxing over these next 4 weeks, I am scanning through all the collections. Number one, I'm doing it to curate next fall's shopping guide that you guys will receive if you're a subscriber that goes out bi-yearly, and trying to figure out what the trends are to splurge on and the trends are to save on. But I'm also doing it to see what's going on in our culture. How are the designers interpreting what's going on in the world? What are they saying is a new idea on an old favorite? All sorts of things that I'm looking for. And it's fun to get inspiration immediately. Say, whoa, I have that in my closet. I'm going to pull this, and oh, I can do this, and I just need to get this one other thing, and it'll all come together. While there'll be many trends on display, no doubt, there will also be items that will speak to us, speak to me, as I just said, as I'm continually trying to hone my style. The priceless gift that style offers is being available to anyone. Each of us has a signature style, should we choose to understand what it is. For each of us, this signature style will evolve as we too evolve as individuals. Therefore, what Stacey London also shared on her interview, style is possible for everyone. Fashion, on the other hand, asks of us, and sometimes it feels as though it is demanding, to buy, to spend and spend again each season, attempting to keep up with the industry. But by simply understanding the difference between style and fashion, we can better appreciate and carefully select beautiful additions to our wardrobes that will enhance our style and not hinder unnecessarily our budget. Here's another quote to ponder from Haro Estroff Morano. In place of style, we have honored merchandise, clothes. Style, on the other hand, doesn't demand a credit card. It prospers on courage and creativity. Courage and creativity. While it may be easier to pull on a ratty t-shirt and slip on loose, battered jeans, choosing to craft your signature style offers a variety of benefits. And no, it doesn't require a gloriously flush bank account, but yes, it will require time, patience, thoughtful contemplation about who you are and what truths about your identity you want to reveal to the world. Owning your style is not for the faint of heart. No doubt it would be easier to revert to our youth when we were children, so young we couldn't dress ourselves, and allow our mothers to make the decision. But then it wouldn't be our voice we were expressing. Often that is what fashion does. It tells us what to be. It tells us how we should look, and by mindlessly following trends, we lose our identity. While clothing is reflective of the current culture, simply look back on your middle school and high school photographs. What did the clothes you were wearing reveal about you? Each of us will see someone different. Some of us will want the courage and confidence that we did exude in high school, while others will see a clone of peers that surround them. So each of our experiences, when we look back on those youthful days and our sartorial choices during those youthful days, will have a different reaction. We'll know what we were thinking. We'll remember why we chose that particular shirt and wore those particular jeans and whatnot. As I have been poring over each collection as it has been revealed in New York these past few days, I am reminded of my vast ignorance in interpreting what I saw years ago as I started to watch fashion shows, and I can also acknowledge how much more I need to learn. However, as I rest somewhere closer to the latter than the former, I enjoy each new collection much like a short film. What is the designer's message? What was their inspiration? What am I drawn to? And why am I drawn to it? Most recently, Victoria Beckham's Fall 2017 collection walked down the runway on Sunday, so just today, as I'm taping this on Sunday the 12th. And it spoke to me. There have been some beautiful collections that have been revealed in the last few days, but this one, for whatever reason, this doesn't happen every time I see her collection. I do like her collections usually, but this one I loved. And I actually wrote about it yesterday on the blog, and I'll provide a link to it and show you some of the images. The hues, the lengths, the proportions, nearly everything echoed the style that is me at this moment in my life. Or should I say who I'm striving to make sure I am becoming. Comfortable, yet elegant, feminine while a bit ambiguous, modern inspired by classic, and simple while being utterly luxurious. Now, can I afford Victoria Beckham when the line becomes available? No. Maybe if the items go on drastic reduction next winter, but even then, most likely no. However, I wasn't considering buying her clothing. I was drawing inspiration. what do I have in my closet now? And I do have a few that will fit the template that I was drawn to. And then what items do I need to complete the look? The key understanding to differentiate between style and fashion is that style speaks your language, your unique language, to the world. Fashion is in a tongue that is someone else's, asking you to learn it and to be a follower. Style never follows, but is rather inspired by what excites them, speaks to them, and then interprets it for themselves. Let's take a look at 9 ways understanding how this difference and embracing and acknowledging your own style will change your life in magnificent ways. Number 1, it will make a statement and reveal your identity. Another quote from Haro Estroff Marano. Our wardrobe is our visual vocabulary. Style is our distinctive pattern of speech, our individual poetry. As Mariano reminds, style is our own unique language, a dialect of fashion that we make our own, so to speak. When we first learn how to speak it, we may feel intimidated to show it to the world, especially if it is vastly different. But the more we communicate confidently, the easier it becomes to step out in our own style each and every day. So number 1, it makes a statement and reveals our identity when we own our own style. Number 2, it exudes security in oneself. An individual who is not afraid to take the time to pull together a thoughtful wardrobe understands the power of clothing. An individual who dresses in such a way that allows the person themselves to shine exhibits self-awareness and self-knowledge, 2 traits that take time to cultivate. And when an individual exudes these 2 qualities, it becomes clear that they are more secure than not in themselves. Sure, we all have insecurities, but part of embodying self-awareness and self-knowledge requires valuing ourselves. And in order to value ourselves, we must have had at least a modicum of comfort in who we are without the external world telling us or approving of us. That is security, not insecurity, that is being strengthened, and that is attractive. So number 2, it exudes your security in yourself. Number 3, it reveals discipline. Having style requires discipline. Discipline to say no to the trends, no matter how much fun they may first appear, all the while knowing our individual body, lifestyle, etc., wouldn't allow the woman to shine her brightest. Discipline is also revealed as to how we shop, being patient but determined, knowing what we need in our wardrobe and taking the time to find it, perhaps tailor it in some instances, and care for it properly. Discipline in how we invest, knowing the power of quality over quantity as well as cost per wear. So number 3 is that it reveals our discipline. Number 4, it presumes you to be a person of interest. When we dress well, we suggest, however subtly, that we matter. And while the clothes we wear and the clothes others wear do not determine our placement or our worth, human beings, as we know, are very visual people. We make quick, subconscious judgments about others. And yes, first impressions matter. Dress well and cultivate assumptions that work in your favor. So number 4 is presume to be a person of interest. All right, I'm going to take a quick break to introduce you to our sponsor for today's episode, and I'll be back with the remaining 4 ways that owning your style can change your life. I'll be right back. As many of you know, I love my tea. I enjoy a cup of tea in the morning. I enjoy a couple throughout the workday, and my favorite ritual is tea in the evening with a black truffle. Well, I was recently introduced to a new brand of teas. Actually, they're based right here in Oregon, which it makes me even more excited to share them with you. Plum Deluxe Teas offer a monthly subscription that will arrive at your house each month. 1 blend of tea, freshly arranged, hand blended, all organic, fair trade, and it will even align with the season. It's only $10 a month, and currently I have been enjoying their green tea, Inner Calm. So if you're looking for delicious tea at a great price and you want to see some different options every month, Stop by plumdeluxe.com/tea to see their entire selection, as well as join their tea community. Caffeine-free options are available as well. Again, that's plumdeluxe.com, based right in Portland, Oregon. Welcome back. So we have 4 more ways that we can dress in our own style, and by doing so, improve our life even more than we thought possible. So number 5 is it separates us from the crowd. Dressing to stand out should never be the goal, as it may push you to deviate from your true self. But if you dress well in a manner that aligns with who you are and you do so consistently, it will separate you from the crowd. Dressing well, no matter how casually or formally, involves not necessarily the label that is being donned, but knowing how to pull together an outfit that looks good on your body with your skin tone, hair color, expectations of tasks, etc. And as mentioned in number 2, it will reveal your quiet confidence, which brings ease to those around you, as they know, oh, she knows what she's doing. She knows herself. She's got command. That puts people at ease, especially if you are leading them. Number 2, also if you are working with them. So number 5, it separates you from the crowd. Number 6, you become memorable. I immediately always think of Lady Gaga. And I know some may say, wait a second, the meat dress, what are you talking about? That's exactly my point. She took fashion and she made it her style. She did something with it that was unique to her. Now, I'm not saying that wearing a meat dress is something you do every day. She didn't wear it every day. It wasn't necessarily about the meat dress. It was her taking items that spoke to her individuality and the platform that she was on and what she was trying to show her audience and say, hey, this is me. Now, as you also know, her style has evolved, but that's the whole point we're going to talk about. Our style it's constantly going to change, and it's being aware of that. And it's that consistency to be paying attention to who we are and allow our clothes to continue to further that message, not get in the way. So I want to talk about a uniform, a signature uniform. Now, knowing your uniform provides a simple decision when you're stepping into your closet. Maybe it's the color palette you choose from, and maybe it's the skirt lengths and styles, or maybe it's the combinations you always gravitate toward. Maybe for me, a pencil skirt and a silk blouse and pumps. It's those 3 elements, and you just mix and match different types of skirts as far as the colors, different types of blouses as far as the colors as well, maybe lengths of sleeves, and have fun with the shoes. But it's a simple template you follow. Once you find a style that works for you, stick to it until it no longer does. Now, I will warn you, it's going to change. It's absolutely going to change for a variety of reasons. Number 1, you're growing as an individual. Your lifestyle will change. Your interests may change. Your budget may change. And finally, you can invest in different things that you've always wanted to. But the idea is to know that this is a uniform that works for you. I can reflect back on my late 20s, and I was always wearing trousers, black trousers, and short sleeve V-neck blouses constantly. But when I was able to invest in better quality, I started to buy those pencil skirts that I love. I started to buy the long sleeve button-up blouses, silk blouses that I love. And with the shoes as well, when I started to be able to afford quality shoes, I didn't buy many of them because they would last, but my style would evolve. Now it's also evolving as I'm here in Bend because I am more active. And so I have more blazers and I'm buying different types of denim. I'm having a lot of different camisoles instead of just a silk blouse. And so it gradually does change based on your lifestyle, based on what you know works for your body too. And I think over time, we become more aware of our strengths and we become more comfortable wearing different items and letting go of those items that we just never could make work, but we wanted to so badly. We must let them go. And it feels good to let them go. You can say, hey, thanks for the lesson, and now I'm moving on. In doing so, in finding our uniform, people will remember you. Maybe it is something as simple as an individual accessory that you always wear with your clothing. But if that's it, if that's the one thing that's consistent, own it. Own it. And when you do, whether it's wearing that regular uniform or just that one accessory, you become memorable. Think Carrie Bradshaw and her flower brooch in the first few seasons of Sex and the City, or The Good Wife's Alicia Florrick in her beautifully tailored Oscar de la Renta suits. Memorable. The shows are both long gone, but the signature styles are still remembered. They were worn well, they were worn with confidence, and we saw them regularly. Thus, they were memorable. They are memorable, I should say. Number 7, each of us can create a unique identity. Here's a quote from Joan Dijon, a professor of French language and the culture at the University of Pennsylvania. Style is something recognizable and yet at an unexpected angle with a surprising twist that both reflects someone's personality and expresses that personality to the outside world. The signature item that we just talked about in number 6 begins to establish our identity in others' minds. And while we are not directly dressing for others, we are creating an identity that is memorable. Interestingly enough, our identity will evolve, as we've talked about already on this episode. That is the beauty of style. When we grow, our style grows. When our lives change due to decisions we make, different life stages we go through, our style must come with us and reflect who we are now becoming. So number 7 is that it allows us to create a unique identity. Number 8, it alters our behavior. A 2012 study published in the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology revealed that by simply wearing a white lab coat similar to that of a doctor to complete a particularly challenging task compared to participants who did not wear a white lab coat, those wearing that coat performed better at the task. Now, it may sound overly simplified, but adjusting and norming all other variables, they discovered that what we wear does affect our psychology, our minds, and how we go through life. Here's a quote I want to share from Leandra Medine from Man Repeller. She too was on the Unstyled podcast by Refinery 29, and they had a fantastic conversation about psychology as well as fashion and style. And she states, "Your interest in fashion is not supposed to minimize your intellect. The same way your disinterest in fashion doesn't mean you're not invited to participate in fashion." I share this quote to address the irony of clothing, style, fashion. The irony is caring about what we wear can reveal our intellect, as those who truly understand the power of clothing will embrace it and utilize its powers. Yes, if all we focus on is what we're wearing and nothing else, that defeats the whole purpose. But in truth, someone who understands and respects the power of clothing would not toss away its powers aside so blithely. It's something we all can grasp onto, all of us. No matter our budget, our age, anything, we can own it and give ourselves some control. There's a lot of things we can't control, but we can control what we're wearing, and we can control how we feel and what we wear. So honing that style, and it does take time, really is something to consider bringing into our arsenal of tools to live the life that we want. And if we know from that study that what we wear is going to change our behavior, it's going to be more empowering, just knowing we feel more confident in what we're wearing. We step into that professional role with regards to wearing that white jacket. Then you, by all means, give yourself that power, right? All right, moving on to the last benefit of owning our style. It visually reveals change is possible. So another quote by Stacey London. "The reason style is such a great tool is a great anecdote because you do see it. It is visible. But when you see a very fast change and visceral change in yourself, once you see that that's possible, you begin to wonder what else is possible." We want change in our lives. Maybe it's small, maybe it's large, maybe it's a better job, improved relationships, fewer pounds, you name it. There's always something we're wanting to change or improve. And deciding we want change is easy. It's the process that must be adhered to for it to materialize that takes time. However, updating our style, pulling on the right sized pants paired with a flattering top, can take just minutes to reveal that change is indeed possible when done thoughtfully. One last quote from Stacey London. "By changing what you see is the first step in changing what you believe." Let me say that again. By changing what you see is the first step in changing what you believe. As she reminds, we are visual beings. When we see it, we begin to believe it. If we are seeking change, no matter in what arena in our lives, how we present ourselves to the world can serve as a powerful step in the right direction as we begin to make the change that we seek possible. Wearing the right outfit will not magically and immediately lead to an Oscar or improving your bank account or insert your dream here. But it is the vehicle in which you begin your journey in the right direction. What you wear reveals who you are, and people want to know the who they are dealing with. They want to know if they can trust you. Strong sense of self-confidence, see number 2. They want to know you are worth investing in, see number 3. They want to know that you are authentic, see number 5. Let the world see the magnificent person that you are. Find her, dress her, and let her shine without apology. I want to leave you with this last thought from Hara Estroff Marano. Fashion is about clothes and their relationship to the moment. Style is about you and your relationship to yourself. Fashion is about clothes. Style is in the wearer. The distinction could not be more revealing. You can find all these quotes and the list that we just talked about the benefits of owning your style and the changes it can bring into your life on the show notes, the simplyluxuriouslife.com/podcast 142. And I'll also provide a handful of other links to posts from the archives on signature style, how it can be a medium of communication. I'll dive deeper into that, how to discover the power of style, and how to master the art of dressing. I'll share those post links on today's show notes. Now, we have a petit plaisir that I want to get to. I think it ties in beautifully with today's topic because we're talking about something that we have control over, our style, knowing who we are and what it can bring into our life. So I'll be right back with today's petit plaisir. All right, welcome back. Today's petit plaisir is a book by New York Times bestselling author, Elaine Sciolino. Now, you may remember her from her most recent book, which was a best-selling book from her experience on the only street in Paris, a street that she lived on and loves. She's lived in Paris since 2002, and that book came out just a few years ago. It's called The Only Street in Paris, but I'm going to talk about her book from 2011 called Seduction: How the French Play the Game of Life. I have had this book since it came out. I remember listening to her interview and on NPR and her talk about this concept in the French culture that deviates significantly with how we approach life here in the United States. Now, just to give you some background on the author, she is a contributing writer and former Paris bureau chief for the New York Times. She writes for Travel and Leisure magazine, and in 2010, she was given the honor of a Chevalier of the Legion of Honor, the highest honor of the French state, for her special contribution to the friendship between France and the United States. In other words, she knows a thing or two about the French culture, and it's fun to hear it from the perspective of an American and how she presents her ideas through all sorts of anecdotes, personal anecdotes, with a variety of well-known French individuals that you'll recognize. Inès de la Frosange was someone that she speaks about and has had conversations with. And anyway, she speaks in this book about how the French play this game of life through what they wear, through what they eat, through what they say, through how they live. And it's just a beautiful reminder that we all can approach life a little differently, to savor it a little bit more, those little moments. It doesn't always have to be about sex, but it can be about charming and appreciating and savoring the food we eat, the life we get to live, the people we get to come into contact with, and this idea of possibilities and not revealing all and being mysterious. I appreciate her fondness for this culture, but also her true American self, which she speaks about, and her hesitation with this approach to living that she speaks about, because it is different than what she's known. It is something that makes some Americans very uncomfortable. But the reality is, It's just being more comfortable with pleasure. And it's not demonizing pleasure, which I think is a fantastic concept to contemplate. Anyway, the book, as I said, is available in paperback now. And if you are someone who enjoys the French culture and wants to dive a little bit deeper into it, this may be the book for you. La Seduction, How the French Play the Game of Life by Elaine Sciolino. I'll provide a link to the book and her most recent book, The Only Street in Paris, on the show notes, the simplyluxuriouslife.com/podcast 142. I hope you've enjoyed this week's Petit Plaisir, where each week ideas are shared to make the everyday all the more enjoyable. Tune in at the end of each Monday's podcast, where I'll recommend a book, a film, or a recipe, anything that is a simple pleasure to satiate your sophisticated taste. Thank you for tuning in to the Simple Sophisticate podcast, where intelligent living is paired with signature style. For more ideas and inspiration throughout the week, stop by the blog, thesimplyluxuriouslife.com, or pick up the book, Choosing the Simply Luxurious Life, A Modern Woman's Guide. To stay caught up on the most recent podcasts, blog posts, and receive exclusive news as well as an extra dose of inspiration, subscribe to the Simply Luxurious Life's weekly newsletter, which arrives in your inbox each Friday to enjoy with a hot cup of tea or your morning coffee, just in time to jumpstart the weekend. Until next Monday, I'm your host, Shannon Ables. Bonne journée!